All right, everyone, welcome to the Education Economic Development Subcommittee. Today we have our decisions for our subcommittee and the budget of Maryland. With that, Mr. Klein, are you walking us through the decision document?
Sure, yeah, I'll just give a very brief introduction. So what you have before you is the decision document. This includes all of the DLS recommended actions, the actions that were adopted by the Senate through their decision process, as well as a few color pages that will be for your consideration. And what we are going to do for the decision document is go in page order. So with that, we can begin whenever you're ready.
I think we're ready to go.
On page 1 and on to page 2, we have Historic St. Mary City first for you. And the initial DLS recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency did concur with this. The Senate then added a first house action and rejected the DLS recommendation. This first house action, you'll see, would restrict $500,000 from the commission until they complete a performance audit. And this is because there is some concern about the financial management practices happening at Historic St. Mary City.
Is there a motion on this?
I would motion to reject the agency's response and concur to adopt the first house action.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it. Next action.
The Stadium Authority, the DLS recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur with the first house action.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On page 4 is Canal Place Preservation Development Authority. DLS recommended concurring with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the first house adopted.
I would motion to concur with the first house action.
Second.
Motion is to concur. All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On page 5, this begins the actions for the Maryland Department of Labor. The first item was a DLS recommendation to restrict funds that were federal funds for workforce development to be used by the department for oversight purposes. And the Senate modified this action. You can see below on the bottom of page 5 onto page 6. They modified it to restrict a smaller portion of funds, only $430,000.
I would motion to reject the agency response and adopt the first house action on the
Second.
additional language.
All right, motion is to adopt the first house. All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
Then there's an additional first house action language starting on the bottom of page 6 and going on to the top of page 8. This was language added by the Senate to restrict funds pending a report on the Power Apprenticeship Act and how it's being implemented.
I would motion to concur with the first house additional action.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
Then on page 8, there's another additional Senate action. It's narrative going from page 8 all the way down to the very top of page 11. This is narrative that creates, or that Labor would create 3 work groups to study apprenticeships for the public sector in 3 different areas, and also USM and the Department of Labor would work together on apprenticeship pathways as well and submit reports for all of these work groups.
I would make a motion to reject the first house action.
Second.
All right, motion is to reject the first house. All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
Okay, and there's a color page item on pages 11 and 12. This is language that would restrict funding in the Department of Labor for administration pending a report on the implementation of unemployment insurance legislation from last session.
Motion to adopt the color page.
Second.
Motion is to adopt. All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
That's it for the Department of Labor. Thank you.
Great, starting on page 13, this is the Maryland Department of Education headquarters. The first action, DLS recommendation was a restriction pending a report on personnel and vacancies. You can see on page 14 that the Senate wanted a first House action, changing that from a restriction into narrative and adopted.
Motion to concur with the first House action.
Second.
Motion is to concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 15, item number 2, this is committee narrative for a report on accounting practices. The agency concurred and the first adopted.
Concur. Motion to concur with the first House action.
Second.
Motion is to concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 16, item number 3, is committee narrative on the state education agency federal stimulus funds. The agency concurred and the first House adopted.
Motion to concur with the first House action.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 17, item number 4 is committee narrative for a report on virtual learning. The agency concurred and the first House adopted.
Motion to concur with the first House action.
Second.
All right, moving second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 18, item number 5 is committee narrative for a status report on the Maryland School for the Deaf for an audit compliancy check. The agency concurred and the first House adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On the bottom of page 18, item number 6 is committee narrative for a status report on the Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program. The agency concurred and the first House adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All right, motion is to concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
And then moving to page 20, there's an additional House action for committee narrative for a report on environmental literacy standards and first House adopted.
Motion to concur with that first action.
Second.
And the motion is to concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Moving to page 22, the first item is a restriction on a report on the maintenance of effort calculations. The agency disagreed. The first House modified the action and adopted.
Motion to concur with the modified language from the first House.
Second.
Motion is concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 23, item number 2 is a restriction of funds on the autism, a report on the autism waiver wait list. The agency concurred and the first House adopted.
Motion to concur.
And motion is-
Second.
Motion is to concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 25, item number 3 is committee narrative for a report on the non-public placement program. The agency concurred and the first House adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
This is Boost, right?
No.
No.
Not,
No, this is
None.
education. This is just non-public placements.
Okay. All right. I think we're good here.
we'll still hit you about page 29, delegate.
All right. Thank you.
All right, the motion is to concur. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On the bottom of page 25 and going on to page 26 is a narrative for a status update on the P-TECH program, and the agency concurred and the first House adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
Motion to concur with the status update. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Now we're on page 28. This is MSD funding for educational organizations. The first item is in the aid to non-public schools program. This is language just modifying the distribution of funding for the program. The agency concurred and the first House adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
Motion is concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Item number 2 on page 20 is also the aid to non-public schools program. This is an item that DLS recommendation was to retain annual language, and the Senate modified the action. You can see that on page 29 and adopted that action.
Would motion to reject the modification from the first House and concur with DLS's recommendations.
Second.
All right, so I just think this is the best way. I know that I understand the department's concerns, but to get to this discrimination and make sure this language is strong and in here, I think this is the best way to go. Certainly, we're looking to the AG to opine as to this and to find better ways to make sure these schools don't discriminate. But for now, I think this is where we are. Motion is to reject, and any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 If you're opposed, raise your hand. Delegate Novotny. Next item.
Okay, the next item is on the bottom of page 29. This is annual language that is about non-public schools participation and just adds compliance to the article. And the agency concurred and the first house adopted.
Concur with the first house action.
Second. Second.
The motion is to concur with the first house action. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, raise your hand.
Now we're on page 31. This is Boost.
Delegate Grice, did you, this was just annual language. Did you want to vote against this? We're getting to the
Yeah,
real
keep going. Keep
teeth of
going.
Boost here. Okay.
Item number 4 is on page 31. This is language for Boost. This is annual language. The DLS recommendation is to add annual language that specifies participation requirements. The agency concurred and the first house adopted.
Motion to concur with the first house.
Second.
Again, annual language. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, raise your hand. That's unanimous. Ayes have it.
On page 31, this is item number 5. This is also annual language for reporting requirements on the Boost program. This language goes till page 36. The agency concurred and the first house adopted.
Motion to concur with the first house action.
Second.
All right. Again, just reporting requirements that we do every year. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, raise your hand. Okay. Next item.
Now we're on page 37, and this is a color page item. This is language that specifies scholarship requirements for the Boost program.
I think this is where, go ahead, Delegate, just a little discussion. This is where we would matriculate the program out. Is that correct, Council?
Yes.
So is there a motion?
Motion to adopt the color page.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, raise your hand. Delegate Grice and Delegate Novotny are in the negative. But that passes. Next item.
Okay, now we are on page 38. This is item number 6. This is language to delete general fund appropriation for the non-public school nursing program. The DLS recommended action was that there was availability of significant federal funds for this program. The first house modified the action and added intent language and voted to adopt.
Would motion to concur with the first house action.
Second.
Can I ask a question here? We're not reducing funding for this program, correct?
We are rejecting the reduction. So the
Thank you.
money
Okay,
will stay in the budget.
excellent. Thank you.
At the bottom of page 38, this is,
Let me just vote on that. I'm sorry,
I'm
Council.
so sorry.
All in favor of that, it's been motioned and second, and say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. The ayes have it. I'm sorry, Council.
Now we're on page 38. At the bottom, this is narrative on funding for non-public schools, committee narrative for a report. The first house had a modified action, which is just to include ARPA funds in the report and adopted.
Motion to adopt the first house action.
Second.
Motion is to adopt. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Now moving to page 41, this is the Interagency Commission on School Construction. This item, the DLS recommendation was a restriction pending report on the statewide facilities assessment. And then this item comes with a modification with the color page. The agency concurred and the first house adopted. And now there's a color page item that's slightly changing the reporting requirements and modifying the language.
Motion to reject this specific language and adopt the color page number 1.
Second.
All right, motion is to reject and adopt the color page. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Now we're on page 45. This is item number 2. DLS recommendation was to have language that reinstates from the fiscal 22 budget fills and it recognizes the intent of the program, which is non-public and public school safety. The agency concurred and the first house adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
Motion to concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
The number 3 on page 45, this is just a committee narrative for report on on public school safety grants. The agency concurred and the first house adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 46, item number 4, the DLS recommendation was to delete the general fund efficiency appropriation for the school facility assessments contractor. The agency disagreed and the first house rejected.
Motion to concur with the first house action.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Then there was an additional first house action. This was restricting funds pending a report on charter schools and contract school facilities. There's a color page item for your consideration that starts on page 49 that slightly alters this. It actually takes away the restriction and just has a report.
Motion to reject the first house action and adopt color page number 2.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
And then we have on page 51, we have another color page for consideration, which is a committee narrative for report on renewable energy fueled school in Western Maryland.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Then on page 52, this is the Accountability and Implementation Board. The first item is DLS recommendation to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the first house adopted.
Motion to concur with the first house action.
Second.
And then item number 2 is a committee narrative for a status report on managing performance measures. The agency concurred and the first house adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All right, motion is to concur on 1 and 2 on page 52. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
All right, on page 53 for early childhood development, the DLS recommendation was to request a narrative concerning a report on child care stabilization grants. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Page 54, there was an additional first house action which requested a report on processing times for stabilization grants.
Motion to concur with the first house additional action.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 55 for your consideration is a color page that would provide restrictive language on a $50 million general fund deficiency to prioritize stabilization grants for providers meeting certain characteristics as listed on this page.
Motion to adopt the color page, and it's also corresponds with the legislation we just passed as well for folks' reference.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
All right, moving on to page 56, DLS recommended adopting narrative concerning a report on early childhood data on the early childhood data system modernization project. However, the first house modified this language that requested alternate narrative, adding another item that requests enrollment and staffing levels for individual child care programs.
Motion to modify the narrative and adopt color page number 2.
Second.
Motion is to modify. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On to page, let's see, page 60. There was an additional first house action that concerned funding adequacy and child care scholarship in the child care scholarship program. The Senate adopted this language.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Right, on page 61, there was a request for child care scholarship program quarterly reports. However, this was modified as shown on page 63 to include a bit more information, but there is a color page for your consideration for this that would modify it a bit further, which is found on page 64 and page 65.
Motion to adopt with modifications.
Second.
The motion is to modify with the additional language. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Right, on page 67, this is the Maryland State Library Agency. DLS concurred with the governor's agency concurred and the first house adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 68 for Morgan State University, the DLS recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
On page 69 for the Maryland Public
All in favor,
Broadcasting.
say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I'm sorry, sir. Go
Apologies.
ahead.
On page 69 for the Maryland Public Broadcasting Commission, the DLS recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Okay, on page 70 for University System of Maryland overview, the recommendation was to concur with the governor's budget and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 71 for University of Maryland, Baltimore, the Senate added language restricting funds for a grant for the Global Virus Network.
Motion to reject the first House action.
Second.
Motion is to reject. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Page 72 for Bowie State University, DLS recommended adopting narrative concerning the nursing program. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Concur with the first House. Motion to
Second.
concur.
All motion is concur. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 73 for Frostburg State University, the Senate adopted narrative requesting a report on increasing its capacity in its physician assistance program.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Page 74 for Coppin State University, the DLS recommendation was to see the USM overview for system-wide recommendations. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
So on page 75 and 76 for University of Baltimore and Salisbury University, the recommendation was to see the overview for system-wide recommendation, and the Senate adopted both.
Motion to concur on both actions.
Second.
Motion is to concur on both 75 and 76. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
All right, it's going to be the same recommendation on page 77 for the University of Maryland Global Campus. The agency concurred, the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Okay, on page 78, 79, and 80 for UMBC, Peace and System Office, this is the same recommendation to see the system overview for recommendations, and the Senate adopted all three.
Motion to concur with all three actions.
Second.
All right, on all three actions, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Moving to page 81 for MHEC. The first recommendation restricts funds pending a report on corrective actions related to the latest fiscal audit, and the Senate adopted.
To concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On pages 82 and 83, these are the two recommendations are requesting annual reports on financial aid by expected family income and progress towards the 55% completion goal, and the Senate adopted both.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Okay, on page 83, the Senate adopted narrative requesting a report on awarding credit for prior learning.
Motion to reject the first House action.
Second.
And the committee's not opposed to this action, but we just have legislation that we're going to pass that deals with this, so it's just unnecessary. The motion is to reject. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 84, I have a color page for your consideration. The first one restricts funds pending a report on the reorganization of MHEC.
Motion to adopt the color page.
Second.
And the motion is to adopt. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
I have a second color page for you on the bottom of this page on page 85, which is narrative requesting report on increasing participation in post-secondary education.
Motion to adopt color page.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 85 through 87, recommendation number 4 restricts funds pending a report from MICUA on how they are planning to use the increase in funds to support the state's higher education goal. The Senate rejected this recommendation, and on page 87, just turned it into narrative, removing the restriction. However, I do have a color page on page 88, and this would modify the Senate's narrative, changing the due date to November 1.
Motion to adopt, reject the first house action and adopt color page number 3.
Second.
Okay, so we're not taking any fund restriction here. They've gotten us a report in good faith. But I do think that we do want a supplemental report here. We're going to give them a little more time to do it. And that'll give them a chance to show us all the good work that they're doing as well. And we know they're doing great work there. So motion is to modify here, reject the first action, move the date to November. All in favor,
Mr.
say
Chair.
aye. Yes.
Mr. Chair, before you go for it, I just want to confirm that you're concurring with the first house action on page 85, and then you're adopting the first house, rejecting the first house action, adopting color page number 3. That is what you
We're taking no fund
And they-
restriction, but we are asking for the report and moving the date to November.
got it.
That's what
Thank you.
everyone's voting on. That was what the vice chair motioned. Thank you, council. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Okay, I have another color page item for you on page 89. And this requests a report on the emissions policies of MICUA institutions.
Motion to adopt the color page.
Second.
Favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On page 90 for 8 community colleges, the DLS recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On page 91 for MHEC student financial assistance, item number 1 was a request for narrative concerning the impact of the credit completion requirement. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
Motion's to concur, all in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On page 92, item number 2 was a request for narrative on the next generation scholars post-secondary outcomes. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On the bottom of page 92, there was an additional first house action for your recommendation that would add intent language for MHEC to consider renaming the Veterans of the Afghan and Iraq Conflict Scholarship to include recognition of Senator Douglas J.J. Peters.
Motion to concur with the first house's additional action.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
All right, moving on to the next page, page 93 for state support for higher education. The first was a request, an annual request for instructional faculty workload. The agency, USM, indicated they would not be able to provide the relevant information for UMB. And as such, the Senate rejected and adopted the additional first house action below, which included all of the information above, but excluded the University of Maryland, Baltimore.
Motion to concur with the first house's additional action.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
So page 94, this is just a technical item which you would reject based on your previous actions with UMB.
Motion to reject the first house action.
Second.
In favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On page 95 for Baltimore City Community College, item number 1 was a request for narrative concerning an update on the institution's realignment. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur with the first house action.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
Right, item number 2 was a request for narrative concerning enrollment in the Mayor's Scholars Program. The agency indicated that they would like this report, which had previously been 2 separate reports consolidated into a single report. And as such, on page 96, the Senate adopted additional first house action that brought this into a single report that was due November 30th.
Motion to concur with the first house additional action.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
Page 97, again, still for Baltimore City Community College, there was a request for narrative concerning an update on their information technology infrastructure renovations. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On the bottom of page 97 and continuing on to 98, there is a color page for your consideration that would request a report on full-time faculty in the college's faculty contract system. And this would be due October of 2022.
Motion to adopt the color page.
Second.
Motion to adopt the color page. All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On page 99, this is Maryland School for the Deaf. Recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the first house adopted.
A motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it.
On the next page, page 100, this is the Maryland African American Museum Corporation. The DLS recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Motion to concur.
All in favor, say aye.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Next is the Department of Commerce, beginning on page 101. The first item was the DLS recommendation to reduce funding for tourism marketing by $2 million in general funds based on the availability of federal funds for these purposes. The agency disagreed, and the Senate rejected this cut.
Motion to concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
The next item is an additional Senate action that the Senate adopted or added language that restricted funds in tourism development for grants to specific organizations. And then we also have a color page related to this item.
Is this the color page that we've been working on, Emily?
No, this is a different one.
No, this is, if the color page is shown on page 102,
Okay.
you'll see this is a color page. It includes the grants from the Senate and adds 2 more grants in Prince George's County for business development.
Motion to modify the first House additional action by adopting the additional color page on page 102.
Second.
Second.
And adopt this. I also have some additional language. So let's adopt this. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. And Emily and I have been working on some additional House language. Emily, can you share your
I
screen?
can share my screen.
Thank you.
Just a minute. This is, can you all see it on the screen?
Yes.
This is language that would restrict funds in the Office of the Secretary until the Department of Commerce and the Department of Budget and Management submit a report on the Maryland State Arts Council formula and the change in interpretation of how that's calculated.
So it looks like, based on the calculations DLS is doing and the Arts Council is doing, that the formula wasn't fully funded. There seems to be a discrepancy there. So we're asking for a report on how they did their formulaic funding and to get that to us with a restriction until that report gets done. Any questions on this item? Emily, if you can leave that there for people to look at for 1 second, then put it down
Okay.
so I can see any questions. All right, so is there a motion to adopt this additional language?
I would say motion to adopt the additional color page.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, raise your hand. That's adopted.
Okay, back in the packet on page 103, the Senate adopted narrative requesting a report on the small minority and women-owned businesses account and how Commerce is marketing that program.
Motion to concur with the first House additional action.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
On page 104, the Senate also adopted narrative on the More Jobs for Marylanders tax credit and how Commerce is participation by companies in Tier 1 counties in the program.
Motion to concur with the first House additional action.
Second.
In favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
And on the bottom of page 104, going on to page 105, I have a color page for your consideration. This is language that restricts funding in the for administration in the Office of the Secretary until Commerce submits a report on Commerce's equity plan or efforts to develop such a plan.
Motion to adopt additional color page.
Second.
Motion is to adopt. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Then on page 106, I have an additional color page. This one is narrative requesting a report from Commerce in consultation with MSDE on the new nonprofit shared services support program and how that program could be used to support childcare providers.
Motion to adopt the additional color page.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
That's it for the Department of Commerce. Then the last item, or the second to last item on page 107, this is the Maryland Economic Development Corporation, or MEDCO. They're non-budgeted and the Senate adopted.
Concur.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Finally, on the last page, page 108, this is the Maryland Technology Development Corporation, or TEDCO. The DLS recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred and the Senate adopted.
Sure.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I think that completes our report. I think I need to I'll move the full report.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You want to say no to the full report? Delegate Novotny? Good work, subcommittee. Thank you so much. With our budget analyst, Mr. Klein, walking us through this, and all our budget analysts. We'll see you, I think, on Friday in front of the full committee. So thank you all very much. Subcommittee, if you can stay on here, we have a brief voting session. We'll just give you can turn your cameras off. I'll give us about 3 minutes to just stretch your legs, and we'll come back and quickly vote. All right, if whoever's back just can hop back on, we'll see how many we have, and if everybody's still here, we can keep going. give Delegate Grice one more minute here. We're still live, everyone, so just heads up on that. Is Ms. Lambert ready as well? Okay. I think we have 3 bills to vote on. Is that right?
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. You want to start us out with the first bill?
House Bill 385 has amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 keeps the part of the bill that requires institutions, this requires Medco housing to be clear that it's Medco owned housing and not housing owned by the institution of higher ed.
So these amendments conform it to the Senate bill. With these amendments, Medco's concerns are alleviated. It did pass the Senate unanimously. We think it's just basically leaves it with a bunch of disclosure requirements to give to the students when they enter into these contracts, so they know what they're entering into. Any discussion on this, on the amendments? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, raise your hand. The ayes have it. I'll move favorable on the bill as amended.
Second.
Any discussion on the bill as amended? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, raise your hand. That's unanimous.
House Bill 872 has amendments to require each public institution of higher ed to adopt a policy that authorizes a student to withdraw from school under extenuating circumstances. That policy has to include a provision on how the school will reimburse tuition and fees for the semester if the extenuating circumstances inhibits a student's ability to acquire education.
This is our committee friend Delegate Henson's bill. We did run these amendments by her. She's good with these amendments. I think this gives some comfort to the institutions as well. But I do think it's important to move this bill along. Are there any questions? Let's start with the amendments. Any questions on the amendments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, raise your hand. The ayes have it. And on the bill as amended, any discussion? Seeing none,
I
I'll move
actually,
favorable.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. I believe this was opposed by some, if not, or the institutions, but this has been amended and I think they withdrawn their opposition. Is that correct?
They're not opposed to the bill.
Okay, got it.
Right.
With
So
these
I'm not,
amendments.
yeah, with the amendments, they withdrew their opposition. They're just no position at this point.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Okay, so the bill's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, raise your hand. That bill passes.
House Bill 966, I think the vice chair was going to do that bill.
Sure, thank you. This is the bill on prior credit for prior learning in reference to the budget language that we struck. Basically builds off of a work group study that was done last year with MHEC, with the USM, and with the community colleges. USM was in favor of the bill, basically would mandate that a 3 on AP exams automatically gets you credit, still leaving individual campuses with discretion to figure out which type of credit, whether it's course credit or it's elective credit, and also requires that we create consistent policies across the board for IB and CLEP exams as well. The only amendment to the bill is a technical one, actually at the request of the university system. We just wanted to clarify at the end that we're asking for reports each year on prior learning examinations, not just prior learning. So it's a technical amendment to conform the end of the bill with the rest of it. So it would move the amendment.
Second.
Amendments are moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
And would motion to move the bill.
Second.
All right, the bill has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, raise your hand. The ayes have it. Michelle, I think those are the 3 bills that we had. So
Those are all the
that
bills.
concludes our voting session. Thanks again, subcommittee. I think we'll probably have to vote again pretty soon here, maybe tomorrow or Friday, so stay tuned.